So, how do I schedule my day? This is a question that a lot of people have for homeschoolers in general as they're getting started or just as they're entering a new phase of life is how do you schedule your day? I want to start by first reminding you that homeschooling is just like general parenting in that there are seasons that you go through. There's really no arriving at the end. You're just constantly changing with your kids as they change. So, the schedule that I'm about to share with you for our current stage or current moment is just this moment. It will probably change in 6 months. It will certainly change in a year. So please keep that in mind. And I am just sharing what is working for us right now. Okay. So let me remind you, I have a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old. So that's second, fourth, sixth, and ninth grade. And this is what is working for us right now. So I have wake up time at 7 a.m. So the kids either set an alarm or I go and wake them up. So either one, they're getting up at 7 o'clock. And then by 8 o'clock, they are dressed, they have brushed their teeth, and they have eaten breakfast. So that's an hour that they have to wake up slowly, get their teeth brushed, get dressed, and have breakfast. So I am not the kind of homeschooler that lets my kids stay in pajamas all day. Occasionally that happens. It's pretty rare. And the reason is because I want to be ready to leave the house when we need to. And I don't want the extra stress of having to send a kid up to change clothes. It's already challenging enough to make sure kids have water bottles and bags packed and shoes on that I don't also want to have to send them to get dressed. So I have been doing this since my kids were babies. We just haven't been pajamas all day kind of a family. And it has worked very well for us. It has served us very, very well. But to each their own for sure. But I do that myself as well. I don't spend all day in my pajamas, although for sure I wear comfy clothes. So anyway, I feel better when I'm dressed for the day and not wearing pajamas. But that is just me. So then at 8 o'clock, we start something that I have just named, just in the last few weeks, I call it table time. So some people call it circle time. That sounds really babyish. Or morning meeting or morning basket because there's like a basket of books. They're all the same thing. It just means like you're coming together as a family and doing some read alouds together, maybe doing a devotional. You're coming together as a family, usually at the beginning of your day. So I'm calling it table time because it happens at my dining room table. So I'm actually in our schoolroom right now. Yes, we have a small schoolroom. I love having a schoolroom because that's my personality. I like having this is the schoolroom because I am organized. I'm not fully type A. I don't like to call myself fully type A, but I'm certainly more that direction, and I definitely like everything to have a home and have a place. And so we do most of our work in the schoolroom, but we start in the dining room. We all sit together at the table, the big table, and we spend time with Jesus. So I got each of them this year a devotional on their level, and we just sit there for 10 minutes and we spend time with the Lord individually and silently. This is a decision that I came to after several years of just feeling like, I want them to choose to spend time with the Lord. I don't want to make it something they have to do. I didn't want to put it on their checklist, like spend time with Jesus. I wanted them to choose to do it. And yet, it just wasn't happening. And so I decided, let's just all do it together then, and I can model doing it as well. So most of what I found, though, very quickly was I was way too distracted to do my actual time with the Lord during that time. So what I do instead is I pray, and I use a little prayer journal. So I'm writing in my prayer journal while they're spending time with the Lord, and I remind them on a fairly regular basis that that's what I'm doing because I don't want them to think Mom's just writing in some weird book while we're looking at our Bibles. So anyway, I am still spending time with the Lord, just not in the Word during that time because it was too distracting for me. But anyway, it is working very well to have that time with the Lord. So they're all doing something different, and I am happy to put a link in the comments to the books that we're using right now. As we finish them, we'll move on to other ones, but I really am liking them a lot for the moment. After we're done with time with the Lord, I keep all my kids, including my high schooler, and we read books about Jesus. So a lot of times they are apologetics in nature, like why we believe what we believe, or history of our faith, history of books of the Bible. I have a lot of different resources for that as well that I will also link. I'll just leave you bunches of links so you can check out what we're doing. And then after I have read those things that maybe people would call a Bible study, or if you want to call it a class, you would call it Bible. I've never done something that I called Bible time, but if I did, I guess it would be that. After that is done, I dismiss my high schooler to go get started on his work, and then I do read alouds particular to what my younger 3 students are doing in CC. So this year, we're doing ancient history, so we read aloud stuff that have to do with ancient history. And then by 9 o'clock, I am done. So table time takes no more than an hour, and then at 9 o'clock, the kids get started on their schoolwork. So that is when... And actually, first I'll tell you, lunchtime's around noon. And then if we're not done with schoolwork, usually I get them back to work by 1. My high schooler gets back to work on his own because he wants to be done. So I don't have to cajole him a lot. Like he wants to get done. So I don't have to really twist his arms, like get back to work after lunch. But the other kids, sometimes I do have to say, we're not done yet. We need to come back. So usually we get back to work by like 1 o'clock. And, it's pretty common, though, that we're done before lunch for my 2nd, 4th, and 6th grader. Now, my high schooler works until 2, probably most commonly, maybe 3 sometimes, and every once in a while, it'll be like 5. But it's usually shorter. And usually if it's to 5, there were some other interruptions during the day that made it longer. So during the school time, this is what I use. So these are dry erase pockets, and yes, I will link them in the comments below. Dry erase pockets, and then I made these checklists in Excel. I'll even share that with you so that you can download it and edit it. But these checklists I have so we do school at home 4 days a week, and then we go to CC once a week. So these are 4-day schedules. Every day is not exactly the same. They're all slightly different with different things on them, and they're very detailed. So one thing I've learned hearing from people online is that a schedule like this can be overwhelming to some kids to see so many details. They need much more general, like English, math, science, something like that. That's fine. You need to figure out what's going to work for your kids, what works for you. But I love the details, and my kids do very well with it as well. So they keep these at their own little spots. Everybody has a spot in the schoolroom. So one of my kids is right back there against the wall, facing the wall. And then one of my kids is right here facing the wall. One is right here facing the wall. And then my youngest sits here at the table with me. So everybody has their own space, and they work through their list at their own pace and in their own order. So I've got independent work is this top part, and then the things that I have to do with them are these lower things. So you can see, like my daughter, she's my youngest. Her things that are independent, there's less items because she's younger. She can't quite do as much by herself as her older brothers can, but the older brothers can do quite a lot. So this independent work is what allows me to work with other kids. So while at 9 o'clock when they come in here to start working, they will get going on independent work. And then when I'm ready to come in here, like usually I'll clean up the table, I'll finish my coffee, finish whatever I didn't get done before 8 o'clock, and then I'll come in here and I'll say, okay, Fiona, let's read together. Let's do handwriting or whatever. And I'll be able to stop her working on independent stuff, and we'll start working on something else. So the independent work is key. You can build your child into independent work starting in kindergarten with copying the alphabet. So they can grow in their skills of working independently just over time. So you need to give them opportunities to do that, and you need to write down what those things are that they could be doing independently without you. So maybe you're nearby, but you're not actively working with them on those items. So that's what I have on those lists. And then these other things are things that I work with the kids on. So I use those checklists as well. I'll sometimes say to one of my kids, let me see your list. Let's see how we're doing for the day, because I need to know how much more do I need to do with you before we're done. So yes, I'm usually the one working the longest, but I can also step out and do things as I need to minimally. One thing that I have realized over time, and a friend just recently shared that she also had this revelation, the more distractions you allow during your school time, the harder it's going to be patient, to be kind, to give focus to the kid who needs you. So if you are getting distracted, so I used to get distracted so easily and so often by just like a random project in the house. Like I would find some little mess in the house and I'd be like, oh, and it would turn into, half a day of reorganizing a closet or making a new binder for whatever thing. And I realized one year I finally realized how disruptive that was, because when we need to be doing school, but then I'm doing this project, so then I think that they should still be doing school, but I want to do my project. So then I get short with them because I'm selfish. I'm feeling selfish because you're interrupting my project with your school needs. And so I realized that it made me nasty and it wasn't fair to them, because like this is their school time. So I had to really shut that down. So it still happens occasionally, but nothing like it used to. It used to happen 3 times a week. That I would really get into some little project that would derail the whole day. And now it happens maybe a couple times a month instead. So it's vastly improved. But any other little things that can distract you, one thing that I've changed this year, I've really cut down on answering emails or answering text messages even during the time that I need to be working with them, because those things can really distract me. Now I'm making zero judgments on how you choose to do those things, because sometimes I do really well with it, and sometimes it is a super big distraction. So it just, even for me, day to day, moment to moment, I have to decide, do I truly have time to answer this text message right now, or should I put it off? Because I'm typically the type that will answer very quickly. And so for me to actually set my phone down and not answer is kind of makes me twitch a little bit, but I'm getting better at doing that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if I can answer in that moment truly, then I will. But if I'm getting better at recognizing this is not a good time, I should not do that, it's going to be too distracting. So that is what I meant by all of that. I also intentionally don't schedule doctor's appointments during the mornings. I guard our mornings so hard. I try even like field trips, when I see them scheduled in the mornings, I'm like, I don't love that, because then it kind of affects the whole week. We end up having to really alter this beautiful schedule that we made, which is not the end of the world. It's great. All I do is I take our little, so what we mark on it with is a vis-a-vis, because a wet erase, because dry erase will rub off easier, but this doesn't rub off unless you like use water or some kind of liquid. So I just mark through things on those weeks or days when we don't have time to do a full day. I just mark through things and it's totally fine. But I like to do that as little as possible. So as far as I have control, I do not schedule things in the morning, including friend time, field trips, play dates, anything like that. I try really hard not to do that. And then I'm looking at my list. I had one more thing. Oh, nope, I shared it. So anyway, that is how I schedule things. And it works super, super well for us. And the other thing that I love about having a schedule like this on the computer is I can change it and reprint this thing as much as I want to. So we've been back to school for about 5 weeks now. I think I've already reprinted this about 6 times. Seriously. Because I'll keep thinking, oh, I had a few things down here, and I was like, oh, those actually should be independent work. And so I would move them up and I would rename things. And so I just move things around to different days. You can do that as much as you want to. It's incredible. And because it still looks the same to the kids, it doesn't maybe feel like as big of a alteration as it might otherwise, because it's still on this very recognizable schedule, checklist, if you want to call it. So it works super well for us, and Yeah, so what questions do you have? What questions do you have, and how do you schedule? What is super different for you? I've heard of looping. I don't exactly understand what that is. Um, this works super well for us, so I don't actually want to hear so that you can convince me to change what I'm doing. But if you want to share in the comments what you're doing and other people can read, then that's great, because it is wonderful to just share all the things, share all the ideas, because we are all different. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. Our kids are all super, super different. So what works for one might not work for another. What works in one season might not work in another season. So we need to be gracious to one another and have grace on ourselves to change things as needed over time. So let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.